Hello, can you guys hear me?
Hey, I think it's just me still.
Nice. Yeah, cool. Good to see you, Leonard. Thanks for joining.
Hey,
Or are you
good to
Leonard?
see you as well. Yeah, Leonard.
Okay.
I can't turn my camera on
Okay, cool.
because I think it's some sort of. I have like several webcams connected. I can
But
change which one it uses.
your screen is orange on my screen. Is that
Yeah,
intentional?
I think that's from. There's some software, DroidCam, so you can use your phone as your webcam, and I think it for some reason thinks that's the primary webcam, and I'm not sure how to change it. At least not in this interface.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just curious because I tried to test the infrastructure here as much as possible with as many devices as possible. So far, we didn't have any issues. But yeah.
I'll check my local settings. Maybe I can somehow. Wait, browser settings. Yes. So
Just interesting that it's orange here. But I guess that's maybe really what arrives here. The video data, I don't know.
changed. Cool.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe some more people are joining as well as listeners.
If I refresh the page, nothing should break, right? I can just join back in.
Sorry again.
If I refresh the page, I don't think it should break anything, right?
No, you can. You probably have to rejoin then, but that's fine.
Yeah. All right. I'll do that. I think I
Yep.
might have gotten the cam to work.
Now I can see you. Nice.
Yeah. So basically, browser settings. If anyone has the same issue ever.
Nice. I would suggest you just wait for Vlad.
Yeah. There's gonna be more up to date than me from our side.
There he is. Welcome.
Good evening.
Your resolution seems to be pretty well, actually. Probably your cam is just better. Mine looks so trashy. I also tested it yesterday when I tested the recordings. So the resolution is always 640 by 480, but my quality is super bad. Maybe it's also the camera here.
Nice.
Better.
I'm glad to see three of us together.
Yeah, maybe some other people are gonna join as well. I posted the link again. And yeah, as I said, it's also being recorded today, but it's not the way that I thought it is, that it's the entire room that is being recorded. Somehow, I mean, it's really just the separate video streams and also even video and audio separated and also completely uncompressed. So it's really just the raw frames that are being recorded now. And yeah, let's see, I might spend some time later on writing a script to stitch that together. I already wrote one yesterday to create like proper, MPEG encoded video streams from it. And having just one script that stitches all the video streams together, that would be exactly what we need already for the Fractally sessions. And then you have a full automated recording already. Having an automated upload into Liquid Storage then is also super easy from there. And yeah, then we already have a fully automated video room recordings. And yeah, if you want to jump in there, Vlad, what's your progress on that?
Yeah, one side comment on the ZEOS. I don't see that it. Can I switch somewhere my microphone, or it's which one it chooses?
From the browser, right? I think.
Yeah.
Don't ask me
So
how exactly.
probably have an icon for your camera in your address bar or somewhere. There's going to be like the video settings for the call, and you're probably going to have to restart the call after you reset.
Okay, yeah, it shows that I'm using. Okay.
Okay,
My
cool.
progress. Well,
If any.
I did progress. I finished all the actions, and today I deployed them to the ZEOS.fractal account, and I started today testing. And so far so good. Like I tried this block height stuff, and yeah, it works.
Yeah, right. You said that already. We have a ZEOS.fractal account, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I will.
I will just use it for testing now. But I mean, if eventually, if the contract is fine, then we can continue using it like as in production, so to say.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I can just give my updates real quick. I've just continued on the specification. I'm now in the application part. Yeah, right. And yesterday I actually wanted to start with some mock-ups for you, Leonard, to just give you an idea about what we need for the mainnet app. Are you still there? Your video just turned off on my screen.
Yep, on mine as well.
Did you unpublish your video, or I can also not hear you in case you're talking?
Me neither.
Okay, maybe we just wait until he comes back. So regarding the specification, yeah, I'm now in the application part. I already tried to reach out to the ENF to get some feedback, maybe because it's really time consuming, and I just want to make sure that it's going into the right direction.
But Yves saw your message, so that's good. And
now that I tagged all of them, I already wrote used their contact form around Christmas. So I didn't expect a reply around Christmas, but maybe a week or so later. But it was then 3 weeks or so, and then I already asked in the Telegram channel, but that was also not really seen or something. And now I tagged all of them that I could find as admins there. And now I got a reply. So yeah, let's see. I really want to move forward with this, but I would like to get some, feedback already or so. It's just too massive. Also, I just want to make sure that there are no, complications because of the nature of the project. Who knows, right? It's a Canadian company. Who knows? Yeah, I just want to get that out of the way. So far, it's great what I did because having a proper protocol specification, I think, is valuable anyway. I also included that in my Pomelo grants, but I never really completed on it. So now it's more or less on a state. It's still not super beautiful. I will read through it several more times and also edit it more. Yeah, welcome back.
What was the problem?
Internet connection got interrupted for a second, so it kicked me out and joined back in because you can only have 3 publishers. So, and my live connection was still in here. I was in here. I could hear you. Just couldn't actually.
Okay, then not Janos's problem.
Yeah, that's good to know. Regarding the UI, Leonard, I was actually about to start yesterday with the UI mockups. Just to give you an idea what is needed for the main application. It's really not that sophisticated. It's just a few screens basically, at least for the very first version. But I haven't done it yet. I played around with Figma for a few seconds, and then I decided to wait for Diego to send me what he already did. I haven't checked the latest state yet, but there is some, first kind of works on the UI that he did, but I don't know exactly how far he went. But I would just send you screenshots from that app. Besides that, what I already posted into the chat, I can also send it later again, is the Zcash wallet, or one of the open source wallets from Zcash, because it's basically, we try to rebuild the exact same thing, but it is a little bit different because in Zcash there is just this one native Zcash cryptocurrency, so you only have one balance everywhere, which is like your Zcash balance. Now the challenge with our protocol is we can have, you know, basically an infinite amount of fungible tokens, NFTs as well. And so that needs to be somehow built into the UI. There will be a settings page as well where user have to map the token symbols to token contracts. I thought that was maybe a good idea to do it there, also to prevent scam. You know, because people are creating tokens with the same symbol, right, from other token contracts. That should somehow be visible in the UI, but, you know, also should be hidden from the user. So I thought maybe we just do a mapping of fungible token symbols to, you know, their contracts basically, and those are then also automatically all the tokens that are being, you know, displayed by default in the wallet. But yeah, I will give you a few more details on that very soon. Thanks so much for joining us in. As you might know, I'm currently trying to secure some funding because there's a lot more to build than just that. I have a few really cool applications. I mean, everyone is excited about this mainnet app now, and I'm as well. But what gets me even more excited are all the applications that we'll be able to build on top of that, like a decentralized exchange where you can trade privately, or a private lending platform, or even your project, right? The CETF, we could also enable private access there. So super exciting stuff, lots of stuff to build. And then, you know, I haven't even touched on the whole Web3 stuff yet. There's also a lot of things that I have in mind, but I don't want to talk too much about this yet. I mean, to you guys for sure, but not so much publicly, because this is something that someone else could also probably easily build. It's not as sophisticated as the privacy app, but that's something, you know, I worked together with Diego on, the previous staff, who now unfortunately had to leave. And he also, I mean, it was basically a synergy. He had some also really, really cool ideas, and he already built a really cool tool that I also haven't released yet. And yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff to come. Go ahead, Vlad.
So did Diego, he has some kind of code already built?
For the UI, you mean, or in general?
Yeah,
he built a lot actually. For the UI, there's also something, but I would also be okay with starting from scratch again.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally up to you, Leonard. You know, I really love the design of your CETF application. I mean, it just looks so professional, right? Yeah, you might think, but you know, I'm a horrible UI designer. You know, it would be cool to have something that looks a little bit more professional. I also really like the Vigor UI. In case you haven't seen it yet, it's also a great application. It looks really slick on the front end, and yeah, I'm really glad to have you because we really desperately need someone who's working on the UI stuff, and yeah, there's a lot to do there.
So
I will send you some screens later just to give you an idea.
But what would be the main functionalities of the first iteration? The main.
Okay, right. So I can just walk you guys through the screens real quick. When you start the wallet, basically you have a few options. You can create a new wallet from seed, or you can load a wallet from file, or import a private key like the Zcash spending key. Then on the next screen, basically you have the same functionality like all these legacy cryptocurrency wallets, like Bitcoin, Monero, or whatever, right? Where you can send token. Okay, we have one more screen, which is the EOS screen, and on the EOS screen you will be able to connect your Anchor wallet, and then you can mint and burn assets, which basically means you can move them between your EOS account and your private ZEOS wallet. So this is one screen. And then there will be a send screen where you can just, you know, have a private send to another address, and a receive screen that just shows you all your addresses, a setting screen where so far at this point, it really will just contain the mapping of the token symbols and the contracts, what you also have in Anchor, I guess. And and then one transaction history tab where you just have basically your entire transaction history. So that's about it. Yeah. And for the first iteration, you will also have to connect your Anchor wallet in order to privately transact. So if you want to make a private send on the send tab, in the first iteration, you will also connect your Anchor wallet for this. And then the next milestone after that will be, with this proxy concept. I don't know how familiar you all are with this. So I presented that in the white paper. I know that Vlad is familiar with that. So what we are going to introduce as a proxy account, which is an EOS account that has a public permission where the private key is publicly shared. And this will enable, this fee model so that transactions are not settled or executed by using your Anchor wallet, but you pay a transaction fee in ZEOS, and that will allow, the proxy to execute your transaction. Okay, so this is also really, I haven't seen any application doing that yet on EOS, but this is now possible with the new contract pays feature. I think I mentioned it in the white paper. Yeah, probably for sure. And I will also now specify this over the next days. So I will also then, you can also then read about it in the ZEOS docs. So this is the final version basically then, where we have people paying transaction fees in ZEOS, and that way we completely abstract the EOS blockchain away. So this will enable also, other exchanges or whatever to integrate ZEOS wallets or privacy addresses without having to deal with EOS at all. So this is also really cool, I think, because it, will make the integration of it, and also the usability might become easier, right? I mean, you don't have to deal with EOS accounts and RAM and all that, which was also very confusing for a lot of you. Yeah, go ahead.
So in the first iteration, the user would have to create the ZEOS wallet. Is that?
Yes. But the ZEOS wallet is always created like a legacy wallet, legacy crypto wallet, right? Just by the click of a button, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you remember these paper wallet generators, right? Where you can create randomness with your mouse or whatever. That's basically what it is. The more modern way is that you have these seed phrases, right? With the, 20 words or whatever.
Is it useful for reference to look at the demo app that
yeah, it's actually a good hint. There is the demo app, but unfortunately it doesn't work anymore. I mean, you can play around with it. It just the transaction currently don't work because my latest verifier update for some reason didn't work on the Liquid Apps DSP. But yeah, in general, for reference, yes, to a certain extent. So the demo app also, it has 2 UAL logins, and it would be cool if we also have that in the first iteration, but only in the first iteration, that we have one UAL login on the EOS page where you mint and burn assets, where you move them back and forth. And then it would be cool if we have a separate UAL login button on the send page, because, people shouldn't sign their private transactions with the same EOS account that they use for minting and burning. That's maybe confusing, and it's a shitty user experience. This is why this is only temporary for the first iteration. If it's too complicated, it also doesn't matter if it's just one login button, okay? Because I know that the UAL library, I mean, I got it to work in the demo app, but it's not so clean. So this violates a little bit the React paradigm, the way I did it. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, question's kind of related. what's the tech stack, or what's the platform that we're basically just building it as a site, right? Not a desktop app, not a native anything.
Yeah, good question. Right. In case that's not clear, yes, the way I would like to build everything for now is completely browser based. So React application would be great. Because our bundler works perfectly fine with React. What we can do is we can take the React application that you build and then throw it into our bundler, which creates one Web3 app, which we can then upload into Liquid Storage and have it fully decentralized already. So that would be cool. Right. So in case that wasn't clear, React would be great. I know the UAL, they have also, a sample for React. I think you guys are familiar with that because you used it already. I only used it for the demo app so far, but yeah, you probably know more about it than me. So
yeah, React works. Been doing all our projects with React.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love React. This is like perfect for Web3 applications because it is so nicely client-based, everything, and yeah, slim, right? Not so much overhead. I know that Diego also built a lot based on Angular, which is a little bit more complex. It comes with this big framework. Yeah, I'm not so familiar with all this, but I also always tend more to use React for these kind of apps. Right.
Yeah. Well,
so yeah.
The first thing is done to the wireframe from you, and then Lennart could do a proper, beautiful Figma.
Well, to be fair, I kind of understood the views, so already start building something, especially if it's just a React site. Not sure we need a. I mean, just we could also propose a wireframe, like think through the UX, and yeah.
No, if you understood, because for me it's not clear. Like,
I mean, there's four views. There's the first one where you either create the wallet, right, from a seed, or you import the private key. That's every one of them out there. Then you have the one where you send tokens, you get your own addresses, and then you have the settings with the mappings. I mean, those views just they exist everywhere. So I would actually sort of look at what others have done and try to replicate whatever UX they thought is best to an extent. And then you have the screen with anchor wallet connecting, minting, burning assets,
Right.
and
Let me.
transaction history. They're like those are all views that exist somewhere.
Yes,
Start
exactly.
pulling things together.
so
I'm trying
I
to.
guess the only difference is that in the other views there's only one token, but in this app there would be multiple tokens, and that's also maybe for simplicity in the first iteration to include only certain tokens, or you would like to have the functionality to just everybody can add their own tokens, or what's the idea?
I think if possible, we should already lay out the UI so that it works with an arbitrary amount of tokens. I mean, because we would have to probably relay out everything afterwards when we try to integrate that. The settings page will determine how many tokens we initially have. So if for instance, we could just have EOS, ZEOS, and DApp or something like this on the settings page. We have these 3 initial mappings there, and then those are the balances that will be shown everywhere. Yeah, that's really the main challenge, and also to get somehow the NFTs into this. I have to say that I haven't really had the time to really think this through yet, and also maybe you guys have better ideas than I have. Again, I'm kind of a terrible UI designer, and because bringing all this into one wallet, yeah, to make it look good, maybe it also makes sense to have a few more tabs within the screen or so. One always for the fungible stuff, one for the NFTs or so. I don't know. What I'm gonna send you. I was actually trying to do it right now, real quick, but I couldn't find it on, as usual, when you just try to show something real quick. No, my Telegram also is buggy. I will send it to you right after the call, but I already talked about with Diego. I don't have it nicely. I would have sent it already if I would have like the screens perfectly separated and all that, but the way I communicated with him was always a little bit, like piece by piece, and that I don't have it all together nicely and beautifully. That's what I wanted to do yesterday, but I couldn't get it done yet. It would help if you guys understand maybe some basics, and then you can basically also define it yourself, right? I mean, like the create wallet page is really like on any wallet, you have the seed phrase and that's it. You can create a random one. Then you have one more button to load, a wallet file, which is just a JSON encoded string basically. And again, also the whole functionality and all that, except for the maybe, the seed phrase and all this, creating random words. I mean, there is really zero functionality on the UI side. It's all built into the library that I made, which is all written in Rust and compiled to WebAssembly. So all the heavy stuff is all in WebAssembly. There is just one wallet object in JavaScript where you basically call methods on, and these methods will deliver everything you need. Also for the UI, it will deliver everything that you need in key value maps or something, or just arrays or whatever in JavaScript. This is the way I build it already. So it's going to be fairly easy to connect that. I can also do it myself. I really just need the UI. And that's it. And it only matters that all the elements are there basically. And I will send you after the call, definitely today, some screens already that I made in Paint.
Okay, so first iteration is both NFTs and regular tokens, right?
Yeah, I would also suggest to do that already. This is all the complexity that we have. It's really just the multiple token symbols plus the NFTs. There are. Oh, sorry, guys. I was a little bit sick the last days. There's also these authenticator tokens, and they will probably only show up in the transaction history, because those are for specific DeFi applications later. And, in the wallet, they might show up in the wallet history and maybe even as active tokens, as permissions to smart contracts. But those are all things that we can add later. So there might be an extra screen later that there will be at least 2 more screens later. There will also be a custom transaction builder, which is a UI transaction builder. I have an idea, for that as well, how people can later easily build their own private transactions. This is a little bit for advanced users, but it gives a nice interface to. It's a bit difficult to explain, but to create these bundle transactions that are introduced in the protocol. The transaction builder is also already there, a first version of it at least, and having a UI for that would also be super cool. But for the first version, it will really just be this basic functionality that we also know from legacy cryptocurrencies. Create the wallet with the seed phase, or load it from file, or by importing a key. And then the EOS screen where you have mint and burn. These screens I'm going to send you. And then there is the send screen, which is also very simple. Just send a certain amount. And we always have batch sending and batch minting and batch burning and all that. That's the only thing where maybe the new Zcash wallet or then also our ZEOS wallet will differ a little bit from legacy cryptocurrencies. This is all thanks to the Halo stuff. You can send more in one transaction than just one token. You can basically send an arbitrary amount of tokens, and also to different wallets and all that. So that's pretty cool. And but that's about it. And then the receive page is really just, showing you the addresses, maybe a QR code of it or whatever. That's not so important for now. Yeah, go ahead.
So sending like in one batch, sending, let's say, EOS and ZEOS and that in one transaction.
In one transaction, and you could also include NFTs or whatever, right?
Mm.
In one private transaction. Yeah. Yeah, the Halo 2 stuff is really, really cool, guys. I'm so happy that I started all over again, you know, with this super brand new application. Basically, it's the newest version of Zcash, which is based on this Halo proving system, and that comes really with some really cool features that, you know, makes it scale very, very well. And yeah, it would be cool if the UI supports these features, you know, to a certain degree. You know, the UI that we're building now will certainly not support all the protocol features because it's really just meant to be a wallet for peer-to-peer transaction, what people already know, right, and what people are used to. And then, you know, when this is done, we're going to talk about the other applications. This is going to be really, really cool then, like the DEX and all that, where we have this privacy interface then. And maybe we're also going to integrate that into one app at the end. I don't know yet. Maybe you guys have some ideas, but, you know, this is all future stuff then. For now, it's really just a simple peer-to-peer transactions. Crypto wallet.
The thought that I'm having is that, same way as we've been discussing with Eden Fractal, that there are eventually like many features that we would like to have, but to start deploying one by one, what's them? Yeah, because community also will not be there forever, so you gotta give them something.
You mean have something that you iteratively can add?
Yeah, but it's up to you how you think is best.
Yeah, don't worry about the complexity with NFT and FT. I mean, we can do it like that if you guys prefer that. For me, it really doesn't matter. The most I care about now, which is also important for testing, would be that the whole fungible token stuff at least works. The NFT stuff, you know, on the testnet, the atomic assets contract seems to be locked or whatever. No one really is the owner there. It would be cool to have the, you know, original one there for testing, but you know, until that works, we can also wait with the NFTs. It really doesn't add too much more complexity to the app, in my opinion, the way I imagine it, because you know, the interface for minting and burning will be the same, even because, you know, as instead of token symbol, you would just choose NFT. And then, you know, where you type in the amount, you would then just, you know, select the identifier, and that's it. And then, you know, everything else is, it's being treated the exact same way like fungible tokens under the hood, because the UTXO structure is the same. It's just that the values are being interpreted differently, and that is the only thing that the UI needs to reflect, basically. But again, I'm cool, you know, also with you know, if you guys think, hey, let's do it this way first, you know, let's just add the fungible stuff for now, and then, you know, iteratively integrate more and more. That's also fine with me, you know, whatever works best for you. Yeah, and then.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think I would build the whole thing regardless, and if something turns out to be an obstacle and we do want to launch something, then I would basically grade out. If there's a view we can finish, want to launch it in the menu, just a button is there, just can't go to the view, you know. I would go about it this way.
Makes sense.
Just grade
Sounds
out.
good. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Really, really cool. It's really great that you guys are on board, that because, you know, right now, so after this call, I'm going to make a little video update, inform the people why, again, there is this big delay. it feels like I'm making 3 steps forward and then fall back a few steps, like 6 or 7, because right now not only did Diego leave, who was already working on this for some time, but also, by the way, what he spent the most time on is connecting the library to the UI. So there's that would also be a reason why it would be great to have it in React, because in order to get the multi-core support working on the library and the WebAssembly stuff, we need to execute the application in what it's called cross-origin isolation. I don't know if you are familiar with that. I have never heard about this before. This is a certain mode that is enabled by setting certain HTTP response headers, and only that will allow the application to access certain resources like shared memory buffer, multi-threading and all that. And I have that already working in Liquid Storage. So when we have this UI as a React application, we can then bundle it as a Web3 app, upload it into Liquid Storage, and can then, when we access it using the browser, we can set these response headers and having multi-core support enabled, which is relatively important because for the user experience, because it takes quite a while to generate private transactions single threaded. On my machine, it takes, I think it was almost a minute or so. But if it's multi-threaded, it's down to about, 10 seconds or so, which is still relatively long, but acceptable for now, for the user. So yeah, just to give you guys some background info there, that is what makes the UI already pretty complex, if you want these features enabled, and also makes local testing relatively difficult, because once you enable cross-origin isolation, you can do that also on your local web server, but then you can only communicate with this one server, right? These are the cross-origin resource policies of the browser is very strict. You cannot upload the proof to another DSP node. So you have to have an entire local blockchain running and the DSP, everything basically in order to test it. That makes it also complicated. So I was, before Diego left and all that, we were actually about to set up a proper testing environment, where you have this whole, let's say, compilation chain of the UI where the bundler is already integrated. It's being uploaded to the node on Kylin, and then we test everything on Kylin already, to have this whole environment working, because it becomes more and more difficult to do this on your local machine if you're not willing, to run all these crazy things locally. That's the cool thing about Kylin now. The Kylin infrastructure is now being shut down in a few days, so that sucks. That's just another thing I have to deal with now. I have to spin up a new DSP so that we can continue testing. Vlad actually made the argument, why not already move to the mainnet? And I thought about it. I cannot come up with a good counter argument yet, but I would definitely prefer to have it on Kylin still before we start to mess around. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that because I already tested a lot locally, I'm pretty sure we will be able to move to the mainnet quickly with the first iteration. And that's also the goal, because people are waiting. The first version won't be certainly not the final one. And it's also not going to be the nicest one, in terms of privacy protection, all that. We still have to use a second EOS account or whatever. But at least people can already use it. People already will take it more seriously, right? Because as long as you don't have it on the mainnet, it's actually not worth anything. And then, we can continue, working on the next iteration of it, but people can already play around on it on the testnet, get a feeling for it. And, we can simultaneously already start to revive the dApp network, on the mainnet, because to my knowledge, there's only, I don't know, 1, 2, maximal 3 nodes or so left. And it's okay, I'm okay with that, to start with just 3 nodes, right? That means we only have 3 DSPs who do the zero knowledge proof verification. But that's fine, considering the current state of EOS, it's not that we are overrun by users or something, to get started. I think that's a good number. Also, initially, there might be some problems, that we don't encounter on Kylin yet, because everything is just tested on one DSP there. mainnet will be the first test probably with multiple DSPs. If I'm won't be able to maybe spin up a second one on Kylan, that is also something, that I'm maybe gonna do. Let's see. The pipeline is full, but having a first version of the UI that would already help, it would make life for me also much easier to test, because testing the protocol right now all via Cleos is already kind of very exhausting, because of the complexity of things. When stuff is, in a UI, like I also built for the demo app, that makes testing very, very easily, and you can also test with multiple users. And there were some things were discovered also by other people that was also very helpful. So having this UI working on Kylan already, that would be really, really cool, just with one DSP and all that. Okay.
Clear for me.
Right. Okay, so that's the plan for now. Again, my main focus is really this grant applications. I'm gonna ask for a lot of money, because it is a cool protocol and it is a very valuable application for everything that I'm about to, finally release now. Is basically the work of almost 2 years of not only researching this, but then also building, more than one application, right? But it all went. There's a lot that went into the current design, and so I will set it up in a way. I don't know how long this whole grant evaluation process will take, but I'll set up the first milestone so that I will basically able to reach it right away. It's all protocol related, and then the second one will be the application, including the first iteration of the UI now and what I already built on the backend side, the library and all that. And I included some more things, but those first two will make up the most of the entire grant. And as soon as I receive the first payment, I'd be really happy to negotiate with you guys what it takes to have you full time on this, because there's really a lot of cool stuff that I would like to build. If I get the funding from the ENF, then I need people to help me with this because it's way too much. And it's certainly enough to get some people full time involved into this. That's the goal, because so when I started all this, I really didn't expect it to grow to that degree or to that extent, because I also didn't foresee that we will have a really, really cool solution for smart contract interactions. And this is what makes it so exciting now, because we can basically rebuild the entire DeFi, stuff on top of it. And then in addition to that, I really have something, as I mentioned earlier, really cool ideas for Web3 applications. But I'm not gonna, talk too much about it now. The focus is really now on the privacy thing. This will also, get the first funds coming in, hopefully. So that's the idea for the next weeks.
Yeah, it would be ironic if the Eves was supporting your app and he really likes it, and it would be ironic if the organization that he's leading
I don't know. Let's see.
I think it will be fine. I think.
I hope so. Too. It's honestly the coolest app that I've personally seen on EOS yet, because it's like really a complex application. It's cryptographically very sophisticated, and it is like a protocol itself on which you can build on. And I ran into so many issues. So again, we need the liquid dApps services in order to make this happen. But it's not even a downside anymore at this point. So there are a number of things that I'm also gonna include into the specification now, or yeah, maybe not yet everything, but for instance, also for the Fractally application, that alone is gonna be such a cool app, right? Where we have this whole WebRTC stuff integrated, and it will all be hosted on these nodes as well, right? So all the additional extra infrastructure that we need, that is what we already have these additional validator nodes for. So I don't know how familiar you are with this, Leonard. If you want, I can just say one or two things about this. The Liquid dApps, dApp, or so-called dApp service provider, DSPs, they offer all these great things like Oracle services, and all pretty much in a decentralized way. So you can have, you can gather the data from different nodes, and then you can, process it on chain. This is the way we will produce randomness, like true randomness. This is the way we're gonna, what else? The whole liquid storage stuff is gonna be integrated into this. So there's a lot of things that these nodes will do for us. But yeah, the problem is that go ahead.
They will generate the proofs.
They will verify the proofs. Yeah, this is like the main. Yeah, good point. That's actually the main thing, right? What we needed them for in the first place was basically the ZK snark proof verification is a little bit too heavy for native execution. Actually, not only that, now in the new protocol version, where also a different hash function is used inside the Merkle tree, also this hash function is actually pretty heavy, pretty CPU intensive. So they will do the proof verification, they will do the Merkle path calculations. They will host our video sessions later for the Fractally stuff. They will host this entire liquid cloud, liquid storage, decentralized cloud storage, basically, where we will host our UI multimedia stuff in, but also the zero knowledge proofs are gonna be uploaded there. It's not, we have to use it for that as well. I was planning to have it all, included in the transactions. It just turns out, there are so many limitations that I wasn't aware of, on EOS. And I ran into all of them and I had to work around all of them. And so the concept that I have now is heavily based on Liquid apps as well. But that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I know already people will FUD a lot about this, but I will, when the time is right, I will make a little article about this. Why you could actually argue that it's more secure, because and especially if you have BPs who are also run DSPs. I mean, they could, right? They don't the current set, but if, in an ideal world, when you have BPs that actually care about developers and the community and the applications on EOS, then it comes at zero extra cost for them to also run DSP nodes. And since you have 100% consensus among them, regarding everything that we build on top of it, you can actually argue that it's more secure than the conventional blockchain consensus, right? Because you only have one block producing node at the same time on the EOS mainnet or on any blockchain. But in this case, when you execute a vCPU handler, you have it all in parallel, and all nodes have to agree. Only then the transaction is valid. So you definitely can make the argument that there's a certainly not a downside when it comes to security, rather an upside maybe even. But that requires some more elaboration at some point. But I'm pretty happy with the concept that I have. I know it's gonna work. I already worked ahead, very far to make sure that all these, critical parts are gonna work. And all that's missing now is really some kind of a user interface that makes this protocol accessible to the end user. And that's where we are at right now with ZEOS. And then go ahead if someone.
Yeah, no, I just, the feeling that I have is that we have to help you. That there is like no other option.
Yeah,
because
hey guys, without you, so I don't even know. Yeah, I kind of cut myself into pieces. Yeah, I'm trying to build a core team for quite a while already, but it's not so easy. I lost 3 talented people already, 2 developers, or not really lost them. I mean, I lost one of them now, but the other ones, they didn't even join in the first place because they were, US citizen or EU citizen and just, too concerned about government crackdowns and all that. And, I get it. But yeah, I want to give everyone the opportunity to also participate anonymously. That's also what I offered Diego. You can just go into the underground if you want. I'm okay with showing my face. I'm okay with doing KYC, just to get some funding and all that. I'm not residing within these, crypto hostile regimes. So at least at the moment, who knows what's going to happen in the future? But for now, I have no, concerns about this. But I understand that some people, who are living in these jurisdictions that they have, and I want to give everyone the opportunity to also participate privately if they want. But yeah, it's not so easy. I incentivize some people that also, that didn't work so well. So I burned a lot of ZEOS tokens already. I'm not the largest ZEOS holder anymore, in case you haven't noticed. And so what I really need now is some serious funding to take it to the next level. And I need some people, some devs who are capable and who are committed, because there's a lot of cool stuff to come. And once, we have this one app released and we're already so far in the development, that also we can already access some funds, that will give us the financial, how do you say that, base, so to speak, right, or foundation to continue develop more on top of that. And yeah, the first app that I would like to build on top of this is actually a decentralized exchange that I also already started. It's this hybrid order book exchange concept that Dan Larimer introduced for Bullish, where you have basically automated market maker and order book combined in one market. So, between the orders in the order book, you have the pool basically that is being matched as long as you hit the next order. And that's also all implemented already on the smart contract side. But then the next thing there is also building a UI for it. And also this UI will be completely decentralized, not like the exchanges that we know today, who are all based on a centralized web service to deliver the UI. And they also run a database there, to have all the tick data, right? All the chart data and all that. So that's also something I always dislike, that, there's no real decentralized application yet. Everything is always depending on this one UI. And if that goes down, then, the app is not really accessible anymore for the normal average user. For the advanced user, you can still, do your transactions on the smart contract side. But, especially when it comes to a DEX, it's nice to have if you can see the chart, right, and the order book and all that. So all of that is going to be decentralized based on liquid storage and VRAM, because it's a very cheap history solution to just abuse VRAM for history data. I was also planning to do that for the Fractally application, that we have some kind of log, right? So every event somehow is also logged. If users create transactions, right, no matter if they submit their votes or an event starts or whatever, right? I mean, all these events that happen on the smart contract side that moves the contract into a next state, or, when ranks are submitted or whatever, you could just have one VRAM table where you just log strings, right? And they are very easily accessible later. And as an ID, a primary key for this table, you could just use the block number, right? Because you would only have one lock per transaction probably. And then you would have the times, basically some kind of time stamping already included in this. In case you can follow me, that's also something that we can use this block number for, because it's actually the discrete time measurement that you have in blockchain, right? It's just the smallest unit of time that you have is basically the block number, and you can have your logs all ordered by the block number, basically, and then you can timestamp them in the UI, right? You can easily translate the block number into a local timestamp or local time, localized time. That's what I mean. And then having it displayed, all based on VRAM. And this is then fully decentralized, right? You don't rely on a MySQL database anymore to render the chart data. The same for the tick data, right? Every single tick that is being produced would be logged, right, in a tick table for this particular market, for instance. So that's the general idea to get around these centralized services or centralized database that so far every single DEX that I have seen depends on. So this is going to be the first true DEX. And of course, the cherry on top is going to be private trading. So you're going to be able to trade right out of your ZEOS wallet on the market there, which hides your identity, right? AKA EOS account. So everything that will be visible is only the amount and the asset type that is being traded, because that is what needs to be revealed, right, in order for the order matching to work. So yeah, that's the very first application I would like to build on top of it. It's going to be awesome. That's what gets me super excited. Yeah, everyone is waiting for this mainnet app, and I get it. Yeah, but it's more or less already done. And but yeah, actually also not, right, because even there is still a lot that needs to be developed for the second iteration, this whole proxy stuff. It's also super interesting, and that's also why I would like to have some more people on board, like you, Vlad, who are also contract developers, because that's also a super interesting topic, right, to look into, this whole contract pay stuff. And that's something that someone can work on its own, and while someone else is already focusing maybe on the DEX or whatever. So much cool stuff to build, and I really need some people who are as excited as I am on this and who would like to join. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that funds will be available for all this. Yeah.
What's
Cool
your
stuff
view on?
indeed.
Sorry, what's your view on decentralizing the front end by hosting it on IPFS? Because we've actually done that with Vlad a couple of times.
You did that already. Yeah, that's exactly what this bundler is about. What I mentioned earlier. So let me see if I can just send you real quick a sample. I will probably not find it quickly, but yeah, that's actually what we did already. So, what IPFS storage did you guys use?
So I think we pinned through Pinata, but like it doesn't matter. Yeah, where you pin it from, but it worked out. I could even connect the domain to it somehow. I didn't fully follow what I was doing, but everything seemed to work.
Yeah, that's cool. But is it possible to access the content directly via GET requests, so that the browser that you can basically access? That's possible, yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's the feed. That's what I added just recently into Liquid Storage. That you can access the browser data directly, that you can access the data in IPFS directly from the browser, by typing in the URL where you have the IPFS identifier encoded. And in addition to that, you can actually encode HTTP response header. Those are headers that you want the node who is actually delivering the content to your browser, that you want them to set in the response. And I don't know if that's possible also in what you mentioned on the other cloud storages. Because that's, for instance, required in order to enable cross-origin isolation, right? Or also for our bundler, we are using a service worker. And to set the scope of the service worker, you also need to set that in an HTTP response header. So in Web 2, you normally have access to your web server, right? But in Web 3, your web server is, maybe just an IPFS node, what we are just talking about. So you need to be able to kind of control a little bit how the response of these nodes look like, right? The node might not even know what kind of content you are requesting, right? The node only sees the IPFS identifier, and you have to set the content type that you want to, the HTTP response header to be set. You have to define that already in the URL when you fetch when you make the GET request. So this is the way I implement it into Liquid Storage. So that gives basically the client full control about the content that is being delivered by the node. You basically control what the server sends you, not only the actual content, but also the metadata, like the HTTP headers and all that. And that works very well, and then the cool thing is you can basically ping any node, that's also something that we could build into the UI later, that, the client could actually check what node is closest to me or has the, lowest latency or stuff like that, right? All future would be great if we can focus on of course, the Fractally app, but as soon as I am able to better communicate the UI stuff to you, that's my focus right now. It would be cool if we can get started with this, because that will secure us, the first funds. And of course, this is also what I already promised the community to deliver, 3 weeks ago. So yeah, no pressure also. I'm just saying, I feel pressure now. I feel like I really have to deliver. And I will also, I will make this update after this video. I will explain a little bit why the delay came to happen again. And I will also explain that I don't make any time predictions anymore. I will keep doing it like in the beginning. I will inform, if there are updates. We have these weekly calls. People can just join, can listen to us or whatever. But because it just leads to disappointment, frustration, and, it goes so far that people will call you scammer for this, right? Just because you weren't able to deliver on time, and even if it's not your fault, right? I mean, in this case, like everything around me is falling apart and I have to try to catch everything, put it together. Like that I have to deal with this whole Liquid Storage stuff now is completely unexpected, and it's just annoying to me, but that's just how it is now. And so we are basically reviving an entire second project here, right? Which is Liquid Dapps, which completely died over the last years. No one was building on EOS. No one was using any of this. And
we did.
But huh?
We did a little bit in our first iteration.
Yeah. You told me that but your current application is not depending on that, right? It's completely on chain.
Nope.
I got a thing from everything we discussed in the last 10 minutes. I think it would be a good idea for the front end to not use any external libraries, or like whenever possible. So to keep the bundle size small, because of how you just explained how we're gonna like host it and so on. I think we should like React already sort of. It's site's not gonna be tiny, right? But just gonna try to include us.
Well, I think it's gonna be interesting what part of the UI will actually make up the the major part of the file size. I can already tell you that the WebAssembly library is several megabytes. I'd have to look it up real quick, but it's a good point. Because right now, how the whole bundler works, it really creates just a static, monolithic block, right, of website that always needs to be downloaded. If you update one single asset, you need to rebundle everything. And the whole, I think what Diego bundled together, the application was 22 megabytes in size. Okay. So it is already pretty large. I think we lost him.
Yeah,
but it's going to be super, super cool. Yeah.
Eleanor is in Estonia right now.
Yeah, you are also from Estonia, right?
Yeah, originally.
Originally, right. And but he sounds super British or something. Is he also Eastern?
he had a British girlfriend for the last
Okay, he has a
year
super
and a half.
clear. Yeah. Okay.
And
But he's also.
he got that accent. He didn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, you have a strong accent, like I have probably in German. Everyone can tell right away I'm from Germany. Everyone can tell right away that you are somewhere Eastern Europe, but he sounds pretty English actually. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah. With
it's great.
Leonard, we studied together. We studied in Latvia, and
Ah, yeah.
actually it's interesting how we sort of connected there. So we it's one of the Leonard wrote that it's gonna take a bit time, I guess. Internet lost. So we had a course, the toughest course that we had in university was finance, and
Okay.
like I failed it 4 times. It's so tough. And also part of that course was we had to write a research paper, and we got in one group. There were 4 of us, and Lenore was like the only person with whom I could go deep into stuff, and that was the point that I understood that
Yeah.
this man thinks and possible future collaboration.
Yeah, that's great. And here you go, right?
Yep.
It's perfect. I just found the links. Let's see if the liquid storage. Ah, yeah, it's still online. Okay, I post some links into the dev channel. So shit. Wait. I just buffer them here real quick. That's basically just I know that Vlad saw that already. I just want to show it to Leonard real quick because we talked about it, the IPFS stuff, and then you can see how the URL encoding looks like. Wait a second. So in the ZEOS dev channel, the first one is a website. And you can see the Kylan DSP, liquidapps.io, this is just the DSP, right? And then V1 DSP, blah, 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 liquid storage. This is like the API, the RESTful API, which is now accessible via GET. And then get URI is actually, the command to receive data from liquid storage. And then you have the URL parameters. The first one is the URI, right? The actual IPFS identifier. And then in this case, there is one more, which is the content type header, and which is __ content _ type, and that will set the content content - type HTTP response header to exactly the value that you submit there, which is in this case, text /HTML and chart set UTF-8. This is all URL encoded. But it also works without URL encoding. I sent you another one. This one is an example for an image. And then I had one more, which is a video type, which even works without URL encoded content type. So those are all examples that just use the content type header. But as I said, there are also a few more headers that you can set, for instance, to enable cross-origin isolation or to set the service worker scope. And, whatever else we need, we can just add it to liquid storage. But that makes it, super configurable, so to speak, right, from the client side. We can really tell the node how to respond. And then you can basically build entire web applications based on that. Where all resources are fetched exactly like this, directly into the browser. And so this is what we're going to use for the front end. And cool that you also already thought about this, because, and I know that was also something that got Vlad's attention right in the beginning. I know that you were mainly talking about that the Web3 stuff is super interesting. And I agree, and I'm wondering that no one is doing this, because it's so obvious, right? Because all the applications that you see, and not only on EOS, but everywhere, they all rely on a centralized front end. And this is the one single point of failure when you look at Tornado Cash. And that's so funny that just happened right after we, applied with this Web3 grant and basically introduced this concept. Right after that, they took down the Tornado Cash front end, which was then not accessible anymore. And and then also right after that, Dan Larimer released a new blockchain software which integrates all of that into the node, and I mean into the node daemon, right? And yeah, I mean, it's such an obvious thing to build, but no one did that yet. So again, there's a lot of really, really cool stuff to build. It's now or never, because if we don't do it now, then someone else will do it, and we can really innovate a lot here. And it's really a lot of fun.
There's another point of attack, which is the domain. So we could use the Ethereum name service.
Yes, exactly. Regarding the domain, so I was actually planning to make everything IP based already. I think that the whole, because the browser cannot. Okay, I was actually thinking. So the DNS is in general a problem, right? How to make that user friendly? I think we talked about that on the last dev call, right? It's usually you set your DNS server on the operating system level, I guess. So if you don't want the user to have to edit any settings on their local machine, which is not super user friendly, you have to avoid traditional DNS at all, right? So that means you either do everything IP based, which I think is a great idea, because it, in terms of censorship resistance and all that, you cannot shut down IP, but you can blacklist certain domains, right? So that is one thing. And then based on that, we can still, build some kind of EOS-based DNS on top of it, but it always requires you to have a client-side application that does the translation or something. Or if you have an idea, I haven't fully thought through this yet, but I think it's even possible to do this also. Yeah, maybe even on the DSP validator node side of things, because those are actually the nodes that we have to ping anyway to retrieve the content from IPFS. And they could also do some DNS magic for us. But again, in order to access that, and if you want to have it beautiful already in the address bar in the browser, then you really need to touch the local settings of the operating system. I believe, right, to somehow change the DNS. I mean, that is so far that I have thought into it. But I'm happy for more input. So that's why I also want to have some more people, right? I mean, it's just me thinking about all this, but I might not have the best ideas for everything, and certainly not the best solution. That's why I also was super happy that Diego was on board. He's a very skilled JS developer or web developer in general. I'm not a web developer, so I'm not a super nerd when it comes to all this. But I might become one now, because we basically reinvent the internet here, and it's super interesting to work on all that. But having some more professional web developers, like you, Leonard, would be also very healthy for the Web3 stuff later, because this is also, super cool, right? Like, people can host their stuff in liquid storage, which is basically, which is a decentralized cloud storage. And then that makes everything already censorship resistant, and you can really avoid all of this traditional web infrastructure, but have it accessible in more or less the same way. Again, the DNS thing is the only thing that's not so easy to solve. I mean, the kind of URLs that I just posted in the chat, right? They are ugly and long. They work, but this is not something that you want people to memorize, right? The IPFS hash and all that. So having that somehow hidden behind a beautiful DNS solution would be great, but it's not so easy, I think, to integrate that into traditional web browsers, in a way that users can use it right away. I don't think that that's out of the box possible, but at least we already have a solution for the actual website being delivered right into the browser using these ugly links. But for now, so what my idea is for now, with the ZEOS wallet and all that, we will build all that based on liquid storage. But later I will just have a domain pointing to this or to a certain node, or and then we can go from there. As soon as we have a better solutions for these things, we can of course integrate that. But it's all.
But the Ethereum name service, can we use it somehow?
Yeah, this Ethereum DNS stuff, it depends on a browser plugin, right? I'm not so familiar with that. Yeah, this is also a way we can implement it, right? So that would only require the user then to install a plugin, right? That's acceptable, I guess, still, and then you can.
So no, actually no. Sorry. You need MetaMask, right, in order to make the URL like super short. But you can have as long as you do the subdomain of their domain thingy, then you don't need the wallet thing.
Okay, sure. Then that you have the centralization at that point, right? That you have this one website where you then just register subdomains. That's basically how all the solutions that have been built on EOS also work. Yeah, it's not really decentralized, right? I mean, of course, we can do the same way, just at the beginning, right? To have something that looks nice and everything and is familiar to people. But it would be really, really cool to have a true decentralized solution, and even if it requires a plugin. So that is something I think that Saeed from EOS Cafe, or the guy who built this one block explorer, was building at the very early days of EOS, if I'm not mistaken. Wait, maybe I find the link real quick. And that, if I'm not mistaken, was dependent on on a browser plugin, and it then just mapped EOS account names to a subdomain or so. Yeah, here you can see it. If you're in the Medium article, if you scroll just a little bit below, how to set up your EOS domain, you have to install this Google Chrome extension. You log in using Scatter, and then you set your DNS record, which is basically just an entry in a multi-index table. And then in the next point, access your EOS domain, and then you can just type in EOS, column / and then your account name, and that will then bring you to the website that you mapped into the multi-index table. And at that point, we could basically, have this ugly long URLs that I, just posted into the chat, stuff like that. We could easily map onto EOS account names. And that was also my initial idea for an DNS, that you have, the ability to just map your EOS account name, which is short and sexy, right, and human readable and all that, to a long, ugly IPFS identifier. And in this case, we could even have this URL already. It would be cool to have it independent from the node, right? Again, the URLs that I just posted, they are all based on this one node from Liquid Storage. Having a dynamic solution there as well, that would be cool, because ideally there will be a lot of nodes later, and you can just choose where you request your stuff. Yeah, lots of cool stuff to think about, solutions to build. I think that's super cool. And the DNS stuff, that's the only thing that might require some kind of plugin or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's fine, Or I mean, the other alternative to that is the way I wanted to build it with Diego, was that we, without requiring a plugin, you build a browser application, but not like a new browser like Firefox or Chrome, but really just a JavaScript app that you can execute locally. Could also just be a React app, right? Which introduces a second address bar or something, and then you have the translation or having all that done in JavaScript, basically, right? You can fetch the DNS multi-index table and then do the translation locally or whatever. But yeah, you always have either you have a plugin in your browser or you have the separate JavaScript application. And Diego made a good point on that. If you have a little JS app that everyone executes, there's also, of course, super high danger of phishing. Someone could just distribute their own browser JS app and, capture all user accounts or whatever. So there's a bit of a security risk there, I guess. That would be not necessarily the case if we have a browser plugin. It might be a little bit safer, but yeah, lots of things to consider there, I guess. Yeah. So far the thoughts, yeah. So I think that's all we brainstormed so far. The most exciting stuff for me was so far really the bundler and having all this stuff, directly accessible in Liquid Storage, even all these multimedia assets, and being able to set certain modes, that we can execute our UI in this particular mode that enables multi-threading and all that. That was the major part that we were focused on the last weeks that we were working on this. Haven't, built anything or much else beyond that so far. So yeah. But again, as of now, I would prefer to, if we could focus on the privacy stuff for now, because this is really the major app and it's already at a really, really far stage, and then again, there's a lot of cool stuff to build once this is done, especially based on top of that. So I guess that's it so far, right? We brought Leonard up to date with most of the stuff we talked about. Of course, we were talking also a lot about the fractal, but I guess that you guys also had some converse about that. It's also something that's going to be super interesting, but put that a little bit to Vlad. I'm really happy that he's taking over the task now that I have my head free to focus on the mainnet app. But the Fractally app is also something that I would like to have relatively early, just to have the permission question, or the account ownership question solved. Because if we start to deploy things on the mainnet, then I shouldn't be the account owner, right? Ideally, it would be cool to have this kind of DAO structure or decentralized governance structure in place already, at least in a very, very early stage. I have very high confidence into the Fractally process to have a good multi-signature that will then come out of that, right? So that's the idea, to have at least an MSIG already that is the owner of the ZEOS contract.
So you don't want to at all to hold the keys, like even at the first iteration, you would like to have it from the start in the hand.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be ideal, in my opinion. So if we really roll this out on the mainnet, at this point, and then people are able to, lock up their funds into this and all this, that would be great if we already have Fractally in place, or at least an MSIG, among us or something, some developer group or so, better than me alone, I'd say. Not so much that I'm afraid, right, for legal reasons or anything, not so much, right? I don't really care about that much, but just to make it look better to the community, right? I mean, it's just, I think, a good idea having this.
Everybody trusts you.
Yeah, I mean, so far, probably people wouldn't have a problem. We will announce it. So, okay, let me say this maybe, or let me add this to the grant application. So part of the application, or one milestone, will be all about Recovery Plus, or making the contract, qualifiable for that. I know that you guys told me that your CETF contract is also part of this without having an audit and all that. I thought if we already are able to, or if we qualify for funding anyway, then why not also having the audit funded by the ENF and everything, so that we will qualify for the whole recovery plus thing. And what else was there in this kind of milestone? I don't remember, but there was a few things included there as deliverables basically for this. And I think I lost a little bit what I was actually going to, but having just solved the ownership question, right? This was what we were talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, but from timeline perspective, I just think that the mainnet app would be ready before the fractal.
Probably,
So,
yes.
Yeah, and in that case, just so that the main app would not wait for the fractal, then it would make sense to have,
Yeah, I agree. It would definitely be cool if we can already roll that out, especially if we feel confident about the protocol. I feel super confident about it, from a security point of view. There's not that I'm, perfect. And so I'm not saying that there are not bugs of the code that I developed. That's not what I mean. I mean the cryptographic security about the underlying protocol. Okay. Everything that is related to the cryptography, because I didn't really touch that, this is all more or less exactly one-to-one taken from the Zcash mainnet app. So, the whole minting and burning process, this is how assets are being moved in and out of the contract. So those are the critical points. And this process is so straightforward. It's from a cryptographic point of view, it's very, very straightforward. So I have a very high confidence in the protocol, when we talk about the cryptographic security of it. And, when it comes to the smart contract security of it, right? The deposit and withdraw side of things, you basically have a checklist, right? That you can go through, when it comes to contract security. It all depends on the zero knowledge proofs. If the ZK snarks are not valid, then you will not be able to withdraw. So the whole security more or less boils down to the arithmetic circuit of the ZK snark. And that's what I mean. I have very high confidence in the current protocol design, because this is also, the whole concept doesn't come from me. It is basically based on this whole Nightfall protocol that was deployed on Ethereum years ago already. The whole custody stuff and all that. This is basically, and it's also super straightforward. So actually the smart contract will look quite, slim probably. I mean, there's not so much. I'm sure that your CETF contract is way more complex than the ZEOS smart contract probably. Yeah, that's how simple it is on the back end side. Yeah, but I don't know. I haven't looked into your contract yet. Might not be the case, but I don't know. I'm just saying there's not too much logic there involved, especially when we talk about moving assets in and out. It's super straightforward. So
How many megabytes is it?
Oh, I couldn't even answer that. It might be a little bit larger because all the dApp libraries are compiled into it. But when you really look only at the code, that I wrote, like the user or the, this kind of really just 3 actions basically. It comes down to three actions and maybe 200 lines of code or so. Yeah, that's it, including the vCPU call. Yeah. But I totally agree with you, Vlad, that it would be cool if we reach that point, and probably the Fractally app is not yet at the stage maybe that we can rely on it, then we can already roll it out and just create an MSIG among us or so, that's perfectly fine. We will just tell everyone, super high risk, don't use it, okay, and all that.
Yeah, with Fractally, like I will test everything now. I will have the contract session essentially ready to be connected, and prepare a documentation so that at one point, if the main app is ready, then I could explain everything to Lennart.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And also regarding documentation, that's also a good idea. Maybe, I don't know exactly. Yeah, this is why I want to get in touch with them, you know. So the way I want to apply now is that I leave out the whole governance stuff of the protocol. But it's actually a very important part of it, right? I mean, who owns the contract? This question might come up, right? During the pitch call or whatever, and then you have nothing specified. So maybe we will include the whole Fractally application into this already. The upside of this would be that we can already, we can define milestones only for the Fractally application and then also receive funding, of course, as soon as we achieve it. But I want to try to avoid adding it into this just to keep it, easy, a little bit more, like encapsulated or more focus on this one app. But I don't know, what they, because, when you read through the grant requirement or to the questions that they would like to have answered, and there's a lot of stuff regarding future, business model or whatever kind of thing. So governance could be one of the topics that come up, who will own the keys to the contract and all that. And of course we have a solution for that, but I didn't want to include that yet. So, oh, you're muted, or is it only on my?
It's muted.
Okay. Your trashy Windows machine there mutes itself.
Do sign language. F it.
Oh, restart. That sounds painful. Okay, welcome back.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The problem is if your headphones die, then in the browser, you have to reconnect again. It doesn't allow to change. Or it changed, but you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, because it needs to republish the audio stream. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you have to reconnect once. That's also something that we could then, integrate later into UI. This whole video room UI is a project on its own, basically, right? There needs to be a moderator UI at some point, where you have an extra mute button and all that, and things like this, that you can, basically hot plug on the fly, or what you just tried. There will also be something. The stream is republished automatically and all that. Yeah, I guess you wanted to add something. If not, it's also fine.
Yes, what did I want to know? Yeah, I forgot.
We were even talking about the Fractally app or something. I don't know.
Can't remember.
Yeah, regarding the actions that implement, that includes, right, what we talked about last time, the randomization or pseudo randomization at this point, but creating the breakout rooms. So as soon as that's done, as I said, I would also take them, a little break from what I'm doing now and just get the sign in button basically done, that people can join the room using Anchor Wallet. It's going to be fairly easy, probably so that means I have to also start with the ZEOS validator API. Yeah, maybe we just recap on that one real quick, so that Leonard is also on like on the same page there. Right. So the challenge with this Frightly app is that we have the smart contract state on the blockchain, but then we need these extra nodes, right? Our validator nodes to open up the rooms, right, and do all the video stuff. And so the challenge there is basically, yeah, and then you have all the clients on the front end. So everything should be controlled by the smart contract. So the smart contract determines the state the application is in. Are we in breakout rooms, or are we, in some other state? And so what the ZEOS validator node is basically the same way that the DSP is basically an extension of the EOS full node, the same way the ZEOS validator node will be an extension of the DSP. So you will have an API the exact same way, like a RESTful API, right? The same way that Liquid Dapps API works. We will have one for the ZEOS validator functions. This is like the additional functionality that is not yet included in DSPs. For instance, opening video rooms or joining a video room. And so what Vlad is doing right now, he's doing the randomization, right, on the smart contract side. So the smart contract randomizes the people into these groups, and then we need to ensure that people can only join the room that they have been assigned to. And for this reason, and obviously this is something that has to do, right, with the WebRTC server. So the cool thing is, what we're using here, this is Janus. As you can see, this is the demo of the video room plugin. This is really cool. Everything is completely open source. It's really well documented. And when you create this room, what you can do is you can add auth tokens, which is just basically strings. And then that way you can enforce that only people, who provide one of these auth tokens are able to join the room. And the way we're going to do that, so on the smart contract, we have the randomization based on the EOS account names. And what people can then just do is they will be able, on the UI, after the randomization is done, there will be a button, create auth token. And this is like an identity request, right? That when you connect your Anchor wallet, you sign only a dummy transaction. And what you do is basically you validate your identity only to the UI. This is not something that you submit to the blockchain. You just sign a signature that the UI then verifies, if this signature really belongs to this account name. And the exact same way, and I tested that already, we can create these auth tokens. So on the UI, it then somehow, it somehow displays the randomization, right, of the smart contract. You have the different rooms with the names. And then next to your name, there's a button that basically just, will pop up some kind of identity request, but it's a little bit more complex than the identity request, the default one that is even specified in the, Anchor signature protocol. We will extend that because we need to include the room number and the event number, right? So that your auth token is bound not only to your EOS account name, but also to the particular event and to the particular room number in this event, because you will have a different room number in the next event potentially, and you shouldn't be able to join the same room with the auth token from the last time. So we need to include room number and event number into the identity request, so to speak, right? But that makes it a little bit more complex, but it's like super simple still. So, and then you have this button, create signature or something like that, right? You could already, or maybe we can even make that into one process. What actually needs to happen is you click this button, you sign, you create a signature, which will then send to the WebRTC server. And the WebRTC server, or the ZEOS validator node, who is hosting the WebRTC session, will then verify the signature. Is this an account that is associated to this room number with this particular event number? And if that is true, it will add just the signature itself as an auth token into the into the WebRTC room basically, and then the user after that can click another button, or maybe it can even happen in the same process. The UI then needs to block somehow because it needs to wait until the WebRTC server has added the auth token. It just takes fractions of a second or so. But the UI needs to wait for that, and then after that, you could join the room. I think the way it works with the Eden election right now is also that you have someone just creating the room with the first transaction, and then the people can join. I think it's similar. That the rooms will be already there. It's just that you have to create your own auth token, and every user has to create their own auth token because it's secret, right? Everyone who knows the signature would be able to join for that user, but you only create it locally and then send it to the server via HTTPS. So that should be secure enough. And that would be the first thing, maybe, if we have that, that's basically it, right? That all the critical parts, at least for the Fractally application, we have the contract that can already move through the different states and do the breakout room randomization. The whole proposal stuff and all that. It's up to you how much you want to integrate. I mean, you specified that, I think, right, in the paper last time. So that's fine. Yeah, whatever you would like to have there already. But at that point, I guess we basically have it all at a point where we could already have, at least some dummy sessions or so, testing everything. The only special role would then be the moderator. So there will be one account that is determined to be the moderator by the smart contract, and this account, and in Janus there's also a moderator role, but I haven't looked into that yet. But it's also fairly easy, I guess. So the moderator is able to call some API actions. So, that's the thing, right? On the blockchain, you always have this require auth, right? Macro or whatever, or function in the smart contract. So you can check in the smart contract that only that particular account is allowed to execute certain code. When it comes to the WebRTC server, we always have to work with these signatures, right? Because that's the only way that the WebRTC server can validate that you really own this particular EOS account. So we will probably always have to encode that somehow, as a parameter, some kind of signature, always randomized, of course, right? So it's only valid for one action, but that the moderator can identify itself. That's something that I would then just build. I'm happy to do that. I mean, the whole ZEOS validator API, which is basically, an extension of the DSP API, which is already an extension of the EOS API. So those are the things that need to be built on the node side of things. And there will be also some, in this API, there are already actions there that we need for the main application now. For instance, upload proof. That's one thing, or also if you want to upload your own Web3 website. So we already have an interface for that. Just share that in the chat real quick. That is something where this is, a liquid storage interface, basically, where people can already upload files up to a certain limit, and up to 100 kilobyte you can even upload without captcha. That is functionality that the ZEOS validator already has to support, but it's not yet built into a nice API or so. That's all things that I'm gonna do over the next weeks or so. We'll also start a repository for that, which is like the ZEOS validator repository. It will explain how to set up. So it will include basically the whole setup of an EOS full node, a DSP, and then on top of that, what do you need to set up to, for the WebRTC stuff and so on and so forth, and to get this API working. So that's what we need that's basically what makes the ZEOS validator. Yeah. is also something that needs to be, properly documented at some point. I will do a very basic documentation now for the grant application. Only include basically the functions that you can see on the Web3 interface, or only the upload of proofs, because that's required for the private transactions already. So just in case that's not clear, I'll just explain that maybe real quick. The proofs for every single private transactions need to be uploaded into liquid storage first before you execute the private transaction on EOS. It's a little bit ugly, but that was the only way possible. I actually wanted to do it that the proof is included in the transaction itself. But the problem is a limitation of EOS again. Not exactly the transaction size when you send it to the node. The transaction can be very large, several megabytes. But when you hand the data to the vCPU handler inside the contract, this is done using an inline action call, and inline actions are only allowed to have a size up to 4 kilobytes or something like this. So it's relatively low. And the ZK snark proofs, based on the circuit that we are using, they will go beyond that, especially if you bundle more proofs together. They will, easily get up to 10 kilobytes or so. That really sucks, but yeah, that is the reason why we need to use liquid storage also for the private transactions. So the way it's going to work is the wallet will create the proof and everything locally for the private transaction before you execute it. And then before the transaction is executed, the proof will be broadcasted to all liquid storage nodes. And then after that, that is going to be in one take for the user. It's going to be transparent, but this is what's going to happen or have to happen in the background. You have this one extra upload into liquid storage. And obviously that should work without captcha, just for a nicer user experience, because if not, then you would have to solve a captcha every time you want to conduct a private transaction. It's possible, but it would be nicer to have that working without captcha. But that also means that the ZEOS validator has to deal with rate limiting and spam protection and all that. But this is something that we have to deal with anyway as soon as we introduce the proxy account. Because what I can already guarantee you is that as soon as the proxy account is there and we have this one public permission, there is a certain attack vector that people can just spam transactions on this particular account and this particular permission. And that will, the default behavior of EOS full nodes is that they just blacklist this account if there's spam coming in. And that is something that we need to avoid because someone could then just, make this account completely unusable for all ZEOS wallets, right? That are all depending on this one public permission. So that already requires a lot of, rate limiting on the server side or on the node side, on the ZEOS validator side. This is also something, that we, someone at some point needs to look into. Already actually for the first version, because, with this proof upload into liquid storage, it's already, an issue, right? If people spam liquid storage. I have some ideas there as well. With pinning and unpinning, you can basically always make sure that liquid storage, that the garbage collector, removes all the spam in certain time intervals, but that might not be enough. So we definitely need some kind of rate limiting, that we basically something like we only allow 1, 2, or 3 requests per IP per minute or something like this. So there are tools available. It just needs to be properly configured, right? I just give you guys a little bit background stuff here. This is something that is all included in the ZEOS validator. Part of the application will be some kind of manual or whatever, right? How to set up the ZEOS validator. Because that's something that you already need, right? You need to have these services available that go beyond the functionality of liquid dApps. and the rate limiting needs to be included. So this is all part already. I'm going to specify this now in the application part of the specification. I have the protocol part, now comes the application part, and the application basically consists of the smart contract on the back end, the UI, which we need to specify also with some proper mockups or something. And then thirdly is the ZEOS validator nodes, right? They are part of the application, right? We cannot leave it out because it already requires more than Liquid Apps offers. So I'm just saying this, that needs to be included as well. So that's what I'm going to put together now over the next days.
Yeah, I think.
And then I can finally do it.
I think all those reviewers, sure, they will go. They will try to go in all those documentations and they will try to understand, but they most probably will not understand most of the things. But one thing that they will all look at is the Figma, and a lot of judgment will remain by that. So I think it's important.
Okay, that's good to know.
No, that's just I think. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I also wonder, and this is also why I have so much trouble now to work on this, because I don't know how much into depth should I go, right? I mean, I can write an entire book about this, right? But do I have to spend 6 months on this now, or can I, keep it as brief as possible so that, the concept kind of becomes clear? At least you get an idea of where we're going. But that's exactly the biggest issue that I have right now, how much detail is required. So it would be great to get some feedback on what I already did. That's what I'm trying to reach out.
The document that I already last week you shared, it's already very comprehensive. So
yeah. I think it's gonna be fine like this. I just have to finish it now. It's a shitload of work. The good thing is you really rethink everything once more, right? I mean, now I'm really finalizing my thoughts, and I already have 1 or 2 little tweaks in the current protocol. So so it's not yet done, right? The way I specify it now, it's not. I haven't built it that way yet, but it's not much work for me to go there. So. But that's a good thing about it. You really, really rethink everything once more. And so
that's the benefit that you yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really, really good to have that anyway. Also, if other people want to join somehow or want to contribute, we're always confronted with this massive code base, right? And not everyone, is happy to dive into the code right away. And having some docs, I think it's also really good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna finish this, and then I'll keep you guys posted on that for sure. And if you, Leonard, could do some nice mock-ups in Figma, that would be great. I also rather have it growing organically, people like you who just joined in right out of interest or whatever. Diego was the same way. He just started doing something. And that's the best way of joining a project, right? I need people who are able to work independently and, just get started somehow, right? Without having too much or require too much guidance from whoever manages the project. And I know that this is not everyone's thing, but, this is how it is in open source usually, right? I mean, you just have to get started yourself somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm super happy that you guys are there, and I'm pretty sure, that there's a lot of really, really cool things that we can work on. Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate it. It's really not that easy that I thought. Again, I burned like more than 10 million tokens on people that I tried to, onboard, but it doesn't work that way. That's also what I learned. It's really better to wait for people to join in and then, just incentivize them. And then you have this, really nice organic growth that seemed to work best so far. But it's also all new for me. This is the first time I'm, having a project of this magnitude and also working with basically complete strangers, right? I mean, so far it was always people that I knew or at work right back then. But, right now it's really just me and people on the internet, right, that just joined in. So it's also new for me, but yeah, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys don't have anything else, I would say we're 2 hours in now. I would say we wrap it up. Again, this call is recorded. I will after this call, I will check out what my Janus server produced, and then I will try to stitch it together that we have our 3 screens next to each other, and then I would also upload it to YouTube if that's okay with you.
Yep.
I just, for transparency, I talked about this with Vlad over the last weeks, and also to, create some excitement because people are super curious about what's going on behind the scenes. All the development, right, that's happening in the background is more or less invisible to everyone. And, people are wondering what's going on. And they might find these calls also super exciting and interesting to hear our thoughts about everything. So, yeah, I will try to always have these recordings and then, somehow, and if not, I also have this one content producer, right, who is on board. He's kind of anonymous, but his Telegram handle is Horus, and he's actually a professional content producer. He's also fully on board. He also has a lot of great ideas. I will also include that in the grant application. So he's not here in these calls. He might join in the future, but he's not a dev, but he's as I said, a content producer and super excited about all this as well. And he also gave me some, things that he can produce around the project because content production is also a big thing, right? I mean, you want to create, some excitement and you want to explain to people what are you doing or how does it work, right? How does the application work? So he will create some nice content around that. And, he can also, you can also stitch this together here for us, but, I want to try to have this fully automated already, of course, so that the nodes can do that fully automated later. But I'm just saying, yeah, he's also always there to help us to get our content published, whatever that is.
Yeah, I saw his content. It's good. Very good.
Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he has cool music always, and is really creative also, and has some cool ideas. And he's doing a lot. This is also something. Yeah, he just started doing something. Okay, he just started with, I think, some of the crappy interviews I did where I always like, and then he was just cutting it out and made a really nice clip out of it. That is easier digestible, and already created these series of clips. I don't know if you guys saw it, about how to set up LokiNet, how you can later participate anonymously in these Fractally sessions, and all that. So yeah, he already did a lot with it. So there will be a lot of content stuff, or maybe we will define separate milestones for that, just for the, for content production as well. And maybe he might also join us in future calls. Let's see.
Sounds good.
All right. Then, thank you so much for your time and for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And I would say, I will focus on the UI stuff now to up later today. I mean, for you guys it's late. For me, it's still early. So later today, I will already send you some screens or so. They will look a little bit trashy and ugly, but then you get an idea. And maybe you can make it then in pretty. All right. Then I would say let's wrap it up and see you guys next week, or we will just chat anyway over the next days, I guess.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Cool.
Bye-bye.